So, this report states that we have a ton of synth chips left from the AKAI Rhythm Wolf that didn't sell too well. What the heck are we going to do about this? I think I have a plan. Hi, welcome back to this channel, and this time, as I promised, another AKAI synth, the infamous Timbre Wolf, which was, I think, released in 2014, and when it was presented, it was seemingly presented by someone who didn't know the machine, and the presentation is very famous or infamous for being so bad that everybody thought this machine was really very terrible. It is, of course, a little limited if you come to look at it. And you've seen the last video, you might remember or recall, think that something looks familiar here because as you can see, those, you could say, look like just four AKAI Rhythm Wolf bass synths stuck together into a bigger machine. Again, it's very big and beefy, that's a nice thing about it. And also the sound, I think, has been a bit modified, just slightly from the Rhythm Wolf. As you will see in a minute, and of course you still have the Rhythm Wolf sound. So if I just play a bass pattern here, at first you could say pretty much the same, but as you have four voices which you can also sequence individually, you can add up different types of sounds and different types of settings, or different types of sounds you can achieve by putting up or putting the knobs into different types of settings. And so you can add up this bass line with another sub bass line. Listen again. I think you get the idea now, or here. So it's for different voices, for different sounds you can set up. You will have to do everything manually, of course, because this machine still doesn't understand MIDI controls and still doesn't send them out. This is a strictly analog machine, so you have to set up all the sounds yourself, and then maybe take pictures if you want to save certain settings. And you sometimes also could use four hands if you want to modify all the sounds at once. But there's more to the machine than just this, because it had other modes which add up other features or other possibilities. Again, also all four voices you can at least use to trigger or sequence external gear. So there's basically also a four-step sequencer, which is nice if you have external machines to add. And you can use four different voice outs to add different effects to the sounds. This is especially interesting for the next thing I would like to show you, because if you set the machine to poly mode, you can actually play it polyphonically. So if I put down the chord now, okay, this sounds pretty strange now because I have all the voices set to different settings, but I still have this because I would like you to show you something else. If I use another sequence, for example this one, and again if I play it in mono mode, it just uses the first voice. But if you use it in poly mode, you will see that the voices get used alternately. So if I press the keys 4 times, you have the 4 voices, 4 lights lighting up. And therefore also 4 different sounds. So if you use the sequence like the one that we just had, you can make it sound interesting by using different sounds for each note. Again, I think you get the idea. The nice thing about here is that it's sometimes a little unpredictable, which is also something that makes it interesting, I think. And so that's the second use case you use the machine. And then, of course, you can also use it to play polyphonic chords, but then you would probably set up all the sounds to the same setting, so as I do now, so that you will have the same sound on all notes, which makes the chords sound less strange. So pick another pattern. Here I have a chord, and let's listen to it. I have to say back to mono mode, because all the 4 notes have to be sequenced separately. So to play a chord, or actually to have a chord that you record it play, you have to set it back to mono mode, and then the 4 voices will use 4 different notes, which gives you a chord. And as the knobs control different voices of this chord, you can kind of use it like a bandpass filter to change certain frequencies within the chords. Which I think gives interesting sounds. Again, I think you get the idea. And then there's yet another mode, the Unison mode, which gives you a unison of all 4 oscillators, all 4 voices, and this can make the sound make the machine sound actually pretty fat and even more aggressive. Even more aggressive if you add the howl, but let's just start with the sound without the howl. And so I unison now, and I give you a little example of the sound. Again, mono. And then if you detune some of the voices, you get an even bigger, meaner sound. Also nice in the low end. if you want to really completely overdo it, you can of course also use the Howl. So that's it for our second video. To conclude, the Timbre Wolf is a 4-voice analog synthesizer and 4-voice sequencer. You can also sequence external sounds. You have different sound modes: play it on mono, play it in poly or unison. You have the sequencer built in, as already said. You have different other functions. Again, you can use swing. You can step record, you can also live record. The machine has a very specific sound once again, but I think it's a very interesting one, and it really is a machine that you have to work with, you have to play with, you really have to get into it. You have to try different things out, and you will end up, I guess, with some very interesting sounds depending on how you set the machine. Then again, you have to remember those, take pictures. It is a very, very old school machine, you could say. And also, once again, look at it, it's a very big and beefy machine. You can probably crush other synthesizers with just the weight and the size of this machine. And that's why I like it. And also, of course, it should be mentioned that you can get it very, very cheaply. So I got mine for a little more than 150 euros. And this is a 4-voice analog synth. And if you look at the market, you won't probably be able to find another 4-voice synth, analog synth that is, at this price point. Some people really try to get rid of it because they don't know how to do or how to get nice sounds of it, and that's why it's very easy to get this machine cheaply. So do so before people realize that it's actually really a great machine. See you next time.